Hello, this is Maite Gonzalez presenting for social psychology class on the Reflected Best Self final. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for the introduction, this was a project for discovering how the people most important to us or me view me as a person, and in doing so, I got to learn that honestly we tend to underestimate the impact we make on shaping who we become, because the people around us may see it differently than we do, or see it clearly. Yeah. And I think through this project, I got to learn that many of my close friends and family, they remember stories about me from a while ago, from years ago, that even I've forgotten. And it is like a core memory for them of me. And I think it was me planting a good seed in people with these stories. So, yeah. Okay. The method for this RBS project was in order to complete this experiment, I had to ask 7 of the closest people that I knew to write a story about me when I was at my best, in their opinion. And what I mean by that is that they individually had to write a different story about me when they thought I was at my best, not specifically about when a certain time that I was at my best, and they need to write a story based on that same time. And from this method, I was supposed to extract strengths or themes from the stories and connect them to social psychology concepts. And an example of this is a story that I got from a coworker. And here the coworker says, "I saw you at your very best, highly responsible, incredibly efficient in your work, and unfailingly kind and patient with customers, always ensuring that everything was in order. Whenever things got busy, you stepped up to lead and manage the chaos surrounding the orders, from answering calls to packing shipments. I truly believe you are a highly effective and intelligent person." And this one specifically was translated from Spanish to English because this worker only spoke Spanish. Yes, and I used this translation. I used the Google Translate to do this translation. And from this story, it's easy to say that the strengths at work here were that I was supportive, encouraging, and kind while connecting. And this story is connected to the social psychology concepts of leadership and pro-social behavior. So that is an example of what I will be doing a little later on. That is an example of a story that was shared and used in this project. And now moving on, why does RBS matter? So RBS matters for a couple of different reasons. Well, RBS matters because it helps uncover strengths through real stories and not through the strengths that may come with certain labels. So, for example, a certain label that I may have or that I had when I first started this project was that I was a waitress and a cashier. In a restaurant, you don't see that as a major role, right? But to the people working in that restaurant, I may be more than just that label. I may be more than just a cashier. When working in a restaurant, everybody has to work as a team, and sometimes someone has to take lead. So there's more to that cashier and waitress label than the regular customer will see, and myself included. Honestly, this project showed me that my coworkers really look up to me. They look up to me in times of need. And I don't want to say look up to me. They look up to me and rely on me in times of need. And yeah, and I think that's one reason why RBS matters. The next reason is that it reveals actions or patterns that we make that make an impact on others' lives and the way they perceive us. And what I wanted to refer back to what I said earlier about planting seeds. So when I say planting seeds, I refer to the fact that anytime we do anything outside and people watch us, strangers or close friends included, we are planting seeds. And to close friends, it might be harder to plant them as they might already have initial seeds planted of you. And some of these stories are the seeds that I've planted in different people's lives. So if I ever refer to seeds, I'm referring to the patterns or behaviors that I have done that have affected my relationships in this project. And another reason why RBS matters is that it encourages growth and self-awareness in any type of label that one may have. I know that when I had initially started this project, I was reading through these stories, and it was like seeing a different side of me. Instead of being on the inside, I was on the outside. It was like reading a character in a book, like the author describing a character in a book, and you kind of envision this character in your mind. And when reading these stories, I was a little impressed by myself, a little bit, in the most humbling way. I was impressed by the way that I've planted good seeds into people, and especially into the people that matter the most to me. So this definitely encouraged growth and self-awareness of myself. Yeah, and honestly, what my best self looks like in these contexts. And moving on, another reason why RBS matters is just that the main roles that I have are an older sister and a fast food worker. So this project helped me see that I carry responsibilities that have shaped my character and identity in society. So essentially, it is how these labels have shaped me, and vice versa, how I have shaped these labels into how people view me. I hope that made sense. And for the last reason why RBS matters is that it helped me see how these rules formed strengths across my life, and therefore it may help other people view or see strengths in their lives or in their character. Maybe there's certain weaknesses that they have, and they can turn into a strength, or they can work on it. Yeah, okay. Moving on. This is our roadmap. Where we will go over the RBS process first, the strength themes, the research and faith integration, and the conclusion. Alrighty, so getting started with the RBS process. It first started with milestones 1 and 2, where I would ask close friends and family of mine to write stories of my best self. And then and I would extract my strengths from these stories and then relate them to social psych concepts, and I would write a reflection of basically my viewpoint or my thoughts after reading these stories and extracting the strengths that I saw in these stories. And that was for milestones 1 and 2. And then moving on to milestone 3. Milestone 3 was a little bit more time consuming, definitely. It included an application map table, a citation table, and an outline for the project. So during the application map table, I had to set concrete behaviors, include faith integration into this project, and include 5 scholarly sources. And by using these, I had to create an outline for the project. And for the most recent milestone 4, I had to begin the slides and a script for this project. And I'm moving on to the strength themes. So I just extracted small citations from these stories, so I didn't have to include the whole story. If not, that would have taken up too much of the slide. So the first strength theme that I saw throughout these stories were leadership and responsibility. The first one, for example, was one written by my mom, which was stepping in for my parents while they were in the hospital. So throughout my life, unfortunately, my close family, 2 people or 3 people in my close family have had to be hospitalized. My parents first. They were hospitalized. My mom gave my dad a kidney. It was a transplant. And I say unfortunately, but it was a very fortunate event, because thankfully, thank God, my mom was an exact match for my dad to give him a kidney. And the second time was that my little sister was diagnosed with leukemia. And both times, even though I was pretty young, I had to step in and be a leader and a role model to my younger sisters. I have 3 younger sisters. So the first time my parents were in the hospital, I had to take care of my 3 younger sisters. But then when one of my sisters, her name is Victoria, when she was diagnosed, I had to take care of my other 2 sisters and honestly fill in for my parents. And so the quote here reads, "She cared for her sisters as if she were their mother, while processing every challenge we faced during treatment for her father and sister." So those were 2 instances where I had to step up and be a leader for my sisters and just take responsibility. And the second one is by my coworker. Again, this one is a more general one whenever the restaurant would be during rush hour, fast food restaurant. And I would have to step up and be more than just a cashier and more than just a waitress, depending on those days. Some days I would have to step up and be the manager because there was poor communication with said manager. Or he was just frustrated, stressed out, and it happens. So it's more so here, it's more so just a stepping up situation. And both of these strength themes lead to pro-social behavior and leadership. And moving on to the second strength theme, encouragement. These 2 are written by my sister and my boyfriend. My sister's reads, "My dad didn't just help me over that struggle. She showed me how to keep going, and she was there for me the entire time. She gave me a goal, a red rock, and when I reached it, I looked back proudly." In this instance, my little sister had trouble climbing a rock wall, and I truly and honestly don't remember this day, but I guess here I planted a good seed in my sister, just that she can look to me whenever she is struggling with a problem, and I will help her through it. And then moving on to my boyfriend. This one more so summarizes my responsibilities of an older sister. Here it reads, "You're always thinking about caring for and protecting your sister, striving to set a good example, not only by being responsible at home, but also with your studies and your sports. You always try to give your very best in everything. You're very strong, very, very intelligent." So this one doesn't give a story, it just more so gives a general responsibilities of an older sister with some praise. And these again emphasize on leadership and pro-social behavior. And I'm moving on to the third strength theme, empathy. This one was written by my mom. It's part of the story by my mom. And it is when I helped a stranger in need at an early age. And this strength theme connects to pro-social behavior. And now moving on to research and faith integration. This is research and faith integration. Okay, so the very first citation is our textbook, and this textbook explains core social psychological processes and like social influences, pro-social behavior, group dynamics, self-concept, and emotional regulation. So that one is used to define the social psychological concepts. The other four emphasize the importance of my roles, like the older sister and the coworker. Fast food worker. So this one written by Chi Malmberg and Flory. It emphasizes how older siblings have a dominant also social influence on younger siblings' emotional and behavioral development. I connected myself as it aligns with the roles I have had to take up, like responsibility, modeling behavior, and caregiving. And then moving on to the third one. This one again was about the older sister. And this one is about how firstborns usually develop leadership, responsibility, and communication skills because of our position in the family hierarchy, quote unquote, which are traits associated with my role again. And then the fourth one about the fast food worker. This source explains how strengths like responsibility, emotional regulation, and empathy help me through customer interactions, support coworkers, and maintain a stable yet demanding environment. And the fifth one is again about being a coworker or being a worker in a fast food restaurant. This one highlights how strengths like leadership and positivity help me stay grounded, maintain my sense of identity, and a healthier social environment at work. And now moving on to the faith integration. So I got two quotes from the Bible, one for each role. As an employee, I try to reflect on this passage by in Matthew 20:26. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant in order to stay humble when leading and resolving conflict. Because when it comes to people outside of my family, I try to be patient no matter the situation, as I understand my actions have the ability to plant bad and good seeds. And as an older sister, I try to refer back to Timothy 4:12, which says, "Set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." This Bible verse is a strong source of strength for me, especially when it comes to my sisters and family in general. Now moving on to my conclusion. So who am I at my best? At my best, I am a leader. It's when I am taking care of my sisters. It is when I've had to step up and be a leader, not necessarily because I want to be, but because I need to be, because somebody needs to step up. And one key takeaway or question, no, a key takeaway that I have is that our actions have a stronger impact that we may think. Like I've stated before, we only see the inside of who we are, but everybody else is looking at the outside. And so when my loved ones described myself to me, it honestly felt like I was reading a book, and this author was describing a character again, and my mind was just making up this person, and it was as if I knew this person, but but then again, it was a completely different person to who I identify myself as. I hope that makes sense. I thought I was a different person, and maybe that's because I'm a little more insecure about my character, or I'm not quite sure. But this project really helped me see the outside of who I am. And it was humbling yet encouraging at the same time. And these were my references. And that is it. Thank you.